You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could.
I'm Ben Drew, the Culture Guy, and I just want to talk to you about how to build a culture of innovation in your organization. And why, if you don't innovate in today's world, you will quickly get left behind. I'm going to start with a cautionary tale. Who remembers these handsets? Did you have one of these back in the late 90s? The Nokia 5110, they were absolutely everywhere. How many people do you know with a Nokia phone now? I'm guessing none. How many people do you know with an Apple phone? Probably a fair few. Well, way back before phones had apps and touchscreens and cameras, Nokia led the mobile phone revolution. They were almost indestructible and they had a multi-day battery. Nokia promoted mobile phones as fashion accessories. Just like with watch straps, users could swap out the cover and change the colours, essentially turning their cell phone into a fashion accessory. At its pinnacle in 2007, Nokia had 51% of the global market share in phones. And to put that into context, Apple now has roughly 25% of the global market share. So from the highs of global dominance to the lows of nearing bankruptcy, Nokia's phone business culminated in a sale to Microsoft in 2013. So what exactly happened? Well, simply put, they failed to innovate. They focused on hardware when the future was software. They rigidly stuck to the Windows operating system and refused to change. And instead of creating the creative workplace required to innovate, they got mired in politics and infighting. Another question, how many of you have got a Netflix subscription? Probably most of you, because 85% of people do apparently. How many of you have still got a Blockbuster video card? And for those of you who are too young to know what I'm talking about, we used to be able to go into a store on the high street and collect a VHS tape or a DVD and borrow it for the evening. And that's how we watched movies back before Netflix existed. But today, over 400,000 hours of Netflix is consumed every single minute. And Blockbuster's presence has been reduced to an ever-dwindling number of boarded up shops in a few high streets across the country. But do you know why Netflix was created? Well, because the founder, Reed Hastings, got a $40 fine from Blockbuster for the late return of Apollo 13. Ouch, I bet they wish they'd just waived that fee now, don't they? Blockbuster was just another company that failed to innovate. It failed to innovate its business model. They made profits from penalising its customers on late returns, telling them off, fining them, making them feel bad for being disorganised. Netflix didn't need to charge for late returns. It just said, send it back when you're ready. Send it back when you're done and we'll send you a new one. Eventually, the Blockbuster CEO cottoned on to what was going on and he tried to change the business model and remove late fees, start a streaming service. But unfortunately, his board and the company investors were really worried about the loss of revenue. So they essentially fired him, reintroduced late fees, put the final nail in Blockbuster's coffin. Once again, internal politics, lack of trust, and an unwillingness to risk short-term revenue killed their ability to innovate. Since 2016, the only countries without Netflix are North Korea, China, and Syria. And since 2012, the only countries without Blockbuster is everywhere. 0 Blockbusters videos watched every minute. And Netflix is currently worth 10 times what Blockbuster was worth. So the only question is, who's going to topple Netflix? Let's try another one. Do you have an Instagram account? I'm guessing 50% of you, because as of last month, 50% of the UK population had an Instagram account. But when was the last time you used a Kodak film to take pictures? Kodak was founded in 1888 by George Eastman. And by 1976, Kodak sold 90% of all film and 85% of all cameras. Yet in 2012, they filed for bankruptcy. Like Blockbuster before them, they failed to make the leap from film to digital out of fear of killing their original and primary market. Internal politics, lack of trust, short-term revenue worries stopped them stepping into the future, allowing other companies like Fujifilm and eventually Apple and Samsung to fill the void. But in the ultimate irony, do you know who invented the digital camera? It was Kodak. Steve Sasson, who put together this toaster-sized contraption that could save images using electronic circuits, and the images were transferred to tape cassette, and then they were viewable by attaching the camera to a TV screen. That was in 1975, but even as late as 1993, the Kodak execs wouldn't give their approval to develop the product because they perceived it would damage their business model. Now, strangely, Kodak is actually still around, and this year they've seen a massive jump in their share price as it moves into blockchain for image rights management. So it's actually never too late to start innovating. Well, perhaps it's a little bit too late for Blockbuster. And there are loads of examples of this. Facebook versus MySpace, Xerox versus Apple, Netscape versus Microsoft, MapQuest versus Google, Atari versus Sony PlayStation, Amazon versus, well, Boilers, Toys R Us, Blue Apron, Foot Locker, Zappos, Maplins, Radio Shack, well, everybody really. The lesson is clear. Organizations need to learn to innovate or they risk being left behind. And the speed of change is so astonishing and still increasing that barriers to entry are becoming harder and harder to build and maintain and keep the upstart at bay. Access to capital and ideas are as easy as they have ever been. Any kid in his garage can build something, get investment, and actually many have. Keeping and defending your IP is becoming harder and harder and harder. And if you want to keep your place in the market, you need to innovate. Not only to get ahead, but just to stand still. There is no defensible position, even for the number one in the marketplace. But before we move on to how to innovate and how to build a culture of innovation, let's make sure we all have the same understanding of innovation. Let's define what it is and also what it isn't. Firstly, innovation is not just doing things differently or doing different things. That is creativity. Innovation is doing things differently or doing different things to create a step change in performance. And when it comes to business innovation is doing things differently and doing different things to create a step change in performance consistent with achieving the company's purpose. We're talking about this last one, this business innovation, when we talk about practical innovation in organizations. It's not just about a creative free-for-all. When it comes to business innovation, we need results. Not that we won't go down blind alleys and we won't make mistakes, but ultimately, what we're doing needs to be rooted in achieving some outcome for the business. The key to creating proper innovation capacity, useful innovation capacity, innovation that helps rather than hinders, is balance. And if you remember nothing else from today, remember the word balance. Let me try and explain with a metaphorical example. Imagine you go to a racetrack and you're competing against other drivers and you get to drive 2 laps at the absolute maximum speed you can. And the fastest person to complete a lap wins £250,000. And the first lap, you get to do it in a car that I'll give you, a 5-litre V8, 155 mile an hour Ford Mustang. And you can go as fast as you like. And if you crash, I'll cover the damage. I'll give you another car and you can try again until you get a completed lap. But the second lap you have to do in your car. And any damage you will pay for. And if you crash, you fail. That's the end. Which lap do you think is going to be the fastest? Which lap do you think is going to cost more? Probably the first lap for both of those. The best lap is also going to be the one with the highest bill. But what if I said to you, actually, the first lap, you can try as many times as you like. And if you crash, I'll give you a new car. But you have to pay for the damage out of the £250,000 that you might win. How would that affect your time? Well, it'll probably still be your fastest lap, but you might try harder to keep the costs down. And that is what your approach to innovation needs to be like in a for-profit business. You need to innovate and you need to spend money to keep moving forward. But you don't have unlimited source of funding. So there has to be some balance in the approach taken to innovation. It's about roots and wings. Or more accurately, it's about wings and roots. Giving people the ability and the permission to fly, but ensuring they're still rooted in the daily realities and necessities of business, but without letting those realities curtail the ability to fly. It's about balance. So let's look at ways to create that balance with 9 ways to build innovation capacity in your organization. Number 1, specify outcomes, but not procedures. Ground the work in accountability to organizational goals. Define the what, but not the how. Allow leeway to experiment. Create focus without needing control. Number 2, build trust. Build trust for idea creation and decision making. You never know who's going to ask a question or have an idea that unblocks an avenue of innovation. They may not be able to execute without help, but thinking differently can happen from anywhere. Encourage new ideas from anywhere in the organization. It's not just the decision makers that have ideas. There is no monopoly on innovation. Number 3, create openness. Cultivate relationships, particularly across disciplines. Generate opportunities to learn and share with people from outside your area. Innovation happens when people see things in different ways, and when people who see things in different ways come together. Number 4, be flexible. Remove barriers, break rules, break the laws of physics. We are building tomorrow, not yesterday. And to do that, we need to change the rules and push the boundaries. Don't be afraid to do that. You can't innovate if that's the way it's always been done around here. 5, foster collaboration. Foster inquisitive conflict. Look for improvements, not critiques. Encourage collaboration towards common goals. When done well, this creates robust and solid innovation rather than flimsy creativity. Signal when you're greenhousing and when you need time to nurture something, and signal when you're ready for robust critique. Number 6, create space. Make time for innovation. Leave some slack in timetables for thinking without boundaries. If people are overworked and busy, they can't take risks, and they can't risk taking time to experiment and play. And that is what you need for innovation. Number 7, be humble. Be stupid. Be a little weird. Asking the right questions solves problems, creates new learning, and ultimately builds innovation. By not knowing everything, you are able to look in unusual places for answers. People that can't be wrong can't innovate. Number 8, go on the offensive. There's no standing still. To grow and stay on top, you need to play offensive. You have to continue to create. The world moves on fast. New things need learning, and things need relearning. Sometimes the playing field moves, and they take their ball with them. Trying to defend your position will leave you out in the cold. Number 9, make mistakes. We've hinted at this lots, but be prepared to make mistakes. Don't aim for perfection, aim for progress. Understand that you win or you learn. There is nothing wrong with paying for training. Don't punish failure. Set an expected success rate, perhaps at 70%, and then leave room for failure. There you go. 9 ways to innovate, the why and the how of innovation. Cautionary tales from those who have failed to innovate, and the 9 attitudes that make innovation possible in your organization. To learn more and organize a free one-to-one, get onto the Culture Guy website and get in touch.